The ball is on the 25, and it is 1st and 10. Today is all things Seattle Seahawks in their season preview. I'm your co-host, Cade, joined by my co-host, Metro. Metro, are you ready to go?
Absolutely. Today, all things Seattle Seahawks. We're going to talk about what happened last year, their offseason so far, their offense, defense, and then lastly, we'll kick it off, or end it off, I should say, with some predictions. Let's hop into it.
All right, Seattle fans, we are starting at the beginning, the 2024 season. It's time to review. And as a whole, on a good note, y'all had a pretty good season. We were right in the middle of the league in scoring, 375 points. That's 18th in the league. And then points allowed, tied for 11th. That means you're top echelon of the league. You did a pretty good job there as well. You ended 10-7, most importantly. Overall, a really solid season. And Metro, do you have any other things you want to discuss about the previous season? Because like the Seattle Seahawks, man, I was scared of them as a fellow NFCer. They had firepower and always found a way to win, it seemed like.
Yeah, 10-win team, unfortunately, did not go their way in terms of making it into playoffs. It's a good team, though, last year. I mean, year one of Mike Macdonald, 17th in points per game offensively, ranked within the top half in a lot of statistics, 15th in yards per game, 12th in touchdowns per game, 14th in red zone scoring percentage. They weren't the greatest at running the football. They also just didn't run the football a lot. They were 29th in rushing attempts per game, 28th in rushing yards per game, and 28th in rush play percentage. I expect that to change with their new offensive coordinator. This is a very pass-heavy team, and they were pretty successful at doing so. So I expect this to be a bit more of a balanced team next year. We'll get to that here in a second, but in terms of statistically speaking, this was a solid offense that I felt was kind of, let's be honest, kind of carried by Geno Smith in a couple ways, because I don't think the offensive line was that good. And then because the offensive line wasn't great and was also banged up, couldn't run the football, got Geno Smith going back there and just, making all sorts of plays. Defensively, this defense was better than, honestly, I think a lot of us thought it was going to be in year one of McDonald, or how you pronounce McDonald or McDonald. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think it's McDonald.
They ranked 13th in opponents' points per game, 12th in opponents' yards per game, 10th in opponents' touchdowns per game. We're good on fourth down. We're good on third down. Again, these are statistics. They don't tell the full story, but, I mean, just reading the statistics right off the page here, it's not a bad team. They did a lot of good things, and so far this offseason, they've been, one of, if not the most aggressive teams in just overhauling the roster. I mean, from top to bottom.
Yeah, no fear anywhere to be seen. And I'm ready to dive into those acquisitions, trades, and releases if you are.
Yeah, let's hop into the free agency process, and then afterwards we'll talk about the draft.
Sounds great. Biggest thing. Traded Geno Smith, a bold move. Usually when you have a QB that's working and keep him around, but they sent them away to the Raiders. And then also they traded DK Metcalf, a huge move over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They both got paid very generously. So I feel like they saved on not only a cap hit, correct, but they also acquired a decent amount of picks. And then they parlayed that into a really good draft, in my opinion. We'll get there in a minute. But to begin, those are the traded pieces. And then releases, Tyler Lockett, he was getting older, I understand. Still a key piece of that offense without a doubt in the slot. And then released a couple other players as well, but that was their big loss in Tyler Lockett. And then for signed, Metro, how could we ignore it? QB Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100.5 million. That's $100 million with an M dollars. QBs get paid around here. He had a very good season in 2024. And then Cooper Kupp, 3 years, $45 million. The Rams just didn't want him. He was getting older. I guess production wasn't going their way. And the Seahawks said, hey, we'll take him. We'll take him on a discount. We were going to pay DK a boatload of money, but we'll take Cooper Kupp, a very productive wide receiver as well, and plug him into our system. You can't forget DeMarcus Lawrence, tank from the Cowboys. He got a 3-year, $32 million deal, very respectable. MVS, Josh Jones, and then a couple other players from there. What stands out to you, Metro? Which one of these signings are going to pivot the roster, of course, besides Sam Darnold?
I think the major thing that happened with Geno going to Darnold and DK going to Cooper Kupp is you look at the contracts. Both Geno and DK got new contracts. Geno, 2 years, $75, compared that to 3 years, $100 million? So I think that's 2 years, $75, that's $37.5.
That's a win.
I think they got a slight discount for Sam Darnold. In my personal opinion, I do think Geno's better, but he's a lot older. Compare that to Sam Darnold, who's a lot younger and might have more years to his career. DK Metcalf, 4 years, $132 million. That's a crap ton of money. Compare that to Cooper Kupp, where Cooper Kupp making about $15 million a year. So that's a big-time discount. So those two players right there are making significantly less than DK and Geno. And I think you'll get similar to, if not slightly better production, just because DK is so like hit and miss. And if Cooper Kupp is healthy, you'll get similar production from him. So,
Totally.
and with what they were able to save by not bringing back Geno and DK, you're able to bring in a DeMarcus Lawrence who dealt with injuries last year, but man, he's a solid player, good against the run, he gets to the quarterback. You pair that with Artie, who's on this defense, I think it makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, this was a good offseason. I know there was a lot of people who weren't big fans of what they did. I think personally, I think it's a good attempt. I think it's fun, and I think they got better, in my personal opinion.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better, man. Change, nobody likes change. But right here, this is called winning at value. You get draft picks, save on money. And like you said, you're able to sign a younger Sam Darnold, a Cooper Kupp, a Tank. And then, of course, they got to also re-sign their own players. The linebacker Jones, a 3-year, $33 million deal. And Reed, the interior D lineman, on a 3-year, $22 million deal as well. So you bolster this roster, you save on money, you collect more draft picks, and then you use those draft picks in a way that I personally like. Do you have anything else to cover here on the offseason before we dive into the draft?
Yeah, I did really like the re-signings they did. Ernest Jones was just really solid for them down the stretch of the season, and this was a team that really needed good linebacker play. So bringing back Ernest Jones on a deal that I don't think is going to break the bank was a good move. And then Jaron Reed, he's a little bit older at this stage of his career, but man, he's still just a good player. He's, how old? 32 years old, but got 4.5 sacks last year. Can be sort of a mentor to Byron Murphy. Just a good pickup, and I thought in totality, this was a really solid offseason. This was a team that, I mean, with Geno, with DK, especially with their looming contracts, it was very difficult to really put a contending team around them, you know, without having to go super deep into the negatives like the New Orleans Saints, who I'm sure we'll bring up in every single one of these videos.
Have they ever been out of the negatives? I can't remember since I was a youngin' if they've ever been green on the salary cap.
Well, they somehow get to zero every single year.
don't
Lord knows
know.
how. I don't know.
What are they doing?
Well, we
Witchcraft?
talked about it. We talked about a few videos ago. It's money laundering. That's what they're doing.
Without a doubt, brother.
Yeah, but the Seahawks, they're able to stay away from that issue. They're still solid in cap space. They have enough to keep making a couple moves next offseason and moving forward. You get Darnold for 3 years. He's younger. You get him during, hopefully, his prime years. And the nice thing about it, too, is it's only a 3-year deal, and it's not like you're giving this guy $50 million a year. So if Darnold is not the guy, you know, you drafted somebody this year, and maybe even next year you can go all in on a quarterback if, for whatever reason, this ends up failing. So this was a nice offseason in terms of free agency class, but like you mentioned, I thought their draft it's not my personal cup of tea, but I can definitely see why a lot of people like this draft class because I thought there were some really good moves.
Totally. And let's dive into that draft class. Let's go round by round real quick. First round, Gray Zabel. Second round, Nick Eamon-Warrior, the safety. Third round, Elijah Arroyo, the tight end. Third round, again, Jalen Milroe, the quarterback, backing up Sam Darnold. Fifth round, Riley Mills, the D-tackle. Fifth round, Torrey Holton, the wide receiver out of Colorado State. Fifth round, Robbie Oots, the tight end out of Alabama. Sixth round, Bryce Capeldue, the O-tackle. Seventh round, Damian Martinez, some great value in the seventh, running back. Seventh, Mason Richmond, the O-tackle. And then seventh, Ricky White, the third out of UNLV, the wide receiver. Now, Metro, above all, when I look at this draft, Gray Zabel, you feel pretty great it's going to hit. The rest of it is super upside plays, and I respect the hell out of it. Like, if you have one of Nick Eamon-Warrior, Elijah Arroyo, or Jalen Milroe hit, just one of the three, they're so athletic, they're going to be awesome players, and God forbid it's the quarterback. Now we got a real franchise team on our hands. I know you had a different opinion. I think it's very risk-reward, but what did you think about the draft?
Yeah, like I said, it's not my personal cup of tea. This is one of those drafts where you're looking at a draft that's either going to be really, really good, and we look back at this draft and say this has the potential to be one of those drafts, or we'll look back on it and say good player here, bust, good player, you know, so on and so forth. So the Gray Zabel pick was just the right pick. It fits their system perfectly. He can play guard, tackle, even maybe center, wherever you need him at, he can play it. He's just a super violent, physical, is a good run defender. It's just hard to get past him in general. And for a team that really had issues on the offensive line, both staying healthy and just general performance, I think Gray Zabel is like the perfect plug-and-play type of guy. Nicky Monwari is the one where I know you're a lot higher on him than I was. He was, I think, outside my top 50. Don't quote me on that. I can't quite remember. But
That's about right. It was close.
What I will say about Nicky Monwari is that this is like the best spot for him. Like there was a lot of teams that had eyes on Nicky Monwari, and I was like, I don't know. I don't love the fit. Seattle is a team with their head coach, with his history of just turning these physical safeties and athletic freaks into dominant players. It's just a really good spot for him to be at. He can, I don't want to say he's going to be Kyle Hamilton, because Kyle Hamilton is like, I don't know, one of the best players in the league, so I'm not going to go that far, but he can kind of play that role of just being a roamer who just makes a lot of plays in the defense. I think there's a lot to work on his game, so I don't know what impact he'll have in his rookie season, because I think he needs to develop for a year or two, but I would not be surprised if he goes out there and makes a lot of big plays this upcoming season, because he is just so athletically gifted, a freak, in terms of stature and size, and it's just hard to find those guys in the second round. Again, not my personal cup of tea, but I definitely can understand why you went for him. And then Elijah Arroyo is kind of more of the same. I am more of like, I like tight ends who are physical blockers and can also do some of the dirty work in the receiving game, sort of like I guess more of like a George Kittle, more so than like a Kyle Pitts, right? Arroyo kind of is more on the side of your flashier tight end who's kind of basically like a receiver. It's why I like Tyler Warren more than I like Colston Loveland. But Elijah Arroyo is very similar to what they already have in Noah Fant. I've heard that Noah Fant's probably out the door. So for a 1-for-1, replacement, I think it works out. And man, he can just, some of the plays this dude makes is pretty nasty. And I thought there at day 3 and Riley Mills was a good pickup. He is a very high upside guy who I think has some pass rush juice that can get to the quarterback, but he's also good against the run. Torrey Horton,
He's sweet.
He is sweet. He had an injury last year. Prior to that, I thought he could have went potentially on day 2 prior to injury, but man, he's a good player. And then down the board, Damian Martinez was one of I think he was my 10th or in my top 10 running backs. And I believe there was some off the field issues that pushed him down the board, which was unfortunate. And then Ricky White out of UNLV, I also thought was a good pickup in round 7. I had a round 5 grade on him, so that's a pretty good pickup right there. So I don't know. It's one of those drafts where it's like, these aren't my guys who I would personally take a bet on, but I can totally see why they would take those bets on these guys.
Totally. Total flip of the coin. I do like the reason, at least I'm higher than most, is just Torrey Horton, correct, in the 5th round, Damian Martinez, and Ricky White. I thought that was really good value in the back of day 3, where I was like, You know what? I'm feeling. You want to take risks up there? Go ahead, because I think one of those guys are going to hit too. I know Damian Martinez is going to contribute at the least. You give that guy the ball for 4 weeks straight, he's going to produce for you. But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about for the draft, or should we transition into this offense and defensive preview?
I did want to briefly, I know some of these, like Damian Martinez, he has a chance to really make a mark on this team. And I kind of wonder, what the future of Kenneth Walker looks like, and Zach Charbonnet. I think Martinez could definitely push for some legitimate playing time. We can't also discount they picked up a fullback, and that tells me that this is a team that's going to want to run the football, and they're probably going to find some unique ways to use this fullback, because you're not drafting a fullback round 5 unless you have a plan for this dude. So I'm intrigued with what they do with Robbie Oates or Outs. I'm not too sure how you pronounce his name, but yeah, let's talk about Jalen Milroe, just because I don't think we actually really went into too much detail regarding Milroe. Look, it's going to be a 2-3 year process for Milroe. He's not going to start. He's behind Drew Lock and Sam Darnold, but man, this is a really good spot for him. Like, such a good spot. I'm not going to say that, he's going to be Lamar Jackson. Of course, people are going to try to put that out there because of Nick Don. Yeah, right. It's so easy to be him, yeah. No, but look, you got a guy in McDonald who saw Lamar Jackson, 1-for-1. So if you can implement some of that stuff with this offense, it could be nice. But again, it's going to be a 2-3 year process. He might have some packages where he gets, 4th and 1, throw Miller out there to see if he can get a first down and, run some sort of crazy RPO or some play action, reads. That'll be pretty interesting. So he'll have some playing time this year, but not in any sort of serious, serious way. But I mean, 2-3 years down the line, if this guy fully develops behind Darnold, behind Locke, like this is a really good spot for him. And the nice thing is he's not going to be in any sort of pressure to play immediately because there's two veteran guys who you're banking on in Locke and Darnold. And, for Drew Lock, he has experience in Seattle, so there's some familiarity there. So Milroe's not going to have to play early on, which was when we were doing our top 10 quarterbacks video, that was something we mentioned was Milroe isn't somebody who should play immediately. So I guess my question for you, Cade, how long do you think it'll take for Milroe to realistically get that starting job, if ever?
If you want Milroe to be his full potential, I don't want to see him on the damn field till 2026. And I fully mean that. And that's just because I have so much respect for this dude and what he could be. And getting him on the field in 2025 would be nothing but a mistake. Now, it does really help that you have a guy like you mentioned in Sam Darnold who's been around the league and has struggled to play himself back into relevancy, and he's earned himself a big contract. That experience and his trip around, not the world, but all the teams in the NFL, he's seen shit, he's done it all, and that'll really help when developing a quarterback like Jalen Milroe. So my answer is 2026. I don't want to see him till then. I don't want to see him starting till 2027.
Do you think he'll get like certain packages, like a 4th and 1 package? I could see it.
I could totally see it, but also there might be just something to like sitting him down and be like, hey, dude, just relax. You're in this for the long haul. Like, we want you to be the guy, but you got to understand we're locking in for 3 years here. And then when you come on the other side of the tunnel, if everything goes right, you'll be the man. And he'll be like, all right, let's go. I'd rather have that than be like, dip the toe in here, dip the toe in here, and he throws a pick, and then he's all in his head.
Yeah, right.
I just want to wipe it clean and let him do his thing.
That's fair. They brought in Clint Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator. He's not really anybody who's played or coached somebody like Milroe, because last year he was with New Orleans with, of course, Derek Carr. Prior to that was with San Francisco with
polar opposite.
Brock Purdy. 2022 with Denver. Who was that? That wasn't Wilson. 2022. I guess you're talking like, I don't know. I guess Drew Lock might have been the guy there. Minnesota as the offensive coordinator in 2021. That was Kirk Cousins, I believe. So this guy never really was with a Milroe-like guy. So I don't know if he's the right coach for him, but you let him develop. I've heard that they're going to do, so when Jaden Daniels came into the league, he had the VR headset to help him kind of figure out how to read defenses. I heard they're going to do that with Milroe. And by the way, if this technology actually ends up working for Milroe, bro, you're going to see every single team draft the fastest motherfuckers out there and just say, hey, put this headset on. Like, we're going to create 15 clones of Lamar Jackson. Like, that's genuinely what's going to happen.
Everyone's going to have an esports team. That's what it's going to be.
We're going to end up seeing a world where if this works out for Milroe, where every team is like, we got to take a shot at this. Like Joe Milton, I guess he's not really a freak athlete. Arch Manning, you're using your legs, buddy. You're becoming Lamar Jackson, dude. Every single quarterback that's a freak athlete, like, man, the league better hope that Milroe does not work it out. Because if he figures it out because of VR,
it'll be the new wave. It'll be the new standard.
There will not be pocket passing quarterbacks no more. Because you are just going to want to get the Josh Allens, the Jaden Daniels of the world. That'll be interesting. That'll be something to monitor. I mean, I'm pumped for Milroe, man. This is a great spot for him. Sit and develop. Good coach, good culture. And by the way, the threads on this guy, the Seahawks threads, it just looks right on him. It looks right. So I'm pumped for him.
It looks so great.
Do you want to transition to the offense real quick? Because it's a fun offense. I'll let you kind of tackle the depth chart here.
It's very unique. So, guys, obvious moves. Gino's out of town. We bring in your boy, Sam Darnold. And then at wide receiver, DK's out. And our brand new man, Cooper Kupp, is in. Overall, in my opinion, they saved money, but it's this much of a downgrade. It's like from an 8 to a 7.5, okay? But overall, you got Gray Zabel. That's a win. And I don't think that's going to be masked by the development of JSN. He stepped up last year, looked really good, and I don't think anything's going to change, except he's only going to get better going into 2025. Overall, when I look at this offense, it is guys that are explosive like Kenneth Walker. I bet this is based on history. We're going to get 8 really good games out of Kenneth, and then it'll be hurt for the rest. That's why you have Zach Charbonnet, and then even Damian Martinez now. And then on the interior of the O-line, that's the biggest question, right? Can these guys hold together for a season? It really helps to have Gray Zabel in that lineup now, but I don't feel super comfortable with that lineup for a 17-game stretch, or maybe even longer if you're in the playoffs. But it's a work in progress. Can't be good at everything. That's my only real concern on this team. Cooper Kupp and JSN is going to be super fun. What do you think about this offense, Metro?
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to you. I think that this team has some real explosiveness to it, but I also think it's a team that needs to stay on schedule. Like JSN and Cooper Kupp, those dudes. I mean, JSN can beat you deep here and there, but it's not like his forte. And Cooper Kupp just is not the athlete that can do that as much. But intermediate, underneath stuff, eating up space, finding space, getting open for Darnold, like that's going to be what those guys do over and over again. And when you have two dudes who just are masters of the underneath, masters in the slot, know how to get off press coverage and, with their release packages and just know how to find space, it's going to be difficult for linebackers, safeties, and nickels to really keep up with these guys. And then you pair that with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who, look, I mean, with Kubiak last year, he had a role, and that was streaks, deep posts, run your ass to create space, and that's exactly what MVS is going to do. And it's one of those things where if you have all of these bodies who are going to be inside, playing closer to the line of scrimmage, you got one dude in MVS who's running deep, and he might be one-on-one, and Darnold might just say, you know what, let me take a shot at him. And then not to mention Elijah Arroyo, kind of the same case. Like this dude, for a tight end, is a really good athlete, and he could run seam routes quite well. So if you're in a situation where you got, Kupp and JSN, who are just masters of the underneath, know how to create separation and get open, with two dudes who are just freak athletes and can run up seams, can create separation down the field just off of speed, it's going to be really difficult to cover all these guys. Just thinking, for me, I think they need to stay on schedule. This offensive line is not great. The interior needs a lot of improvement, but Zabel steps in there, and he's going to fix a lot of the issues for this team. And if Lucas can just stay healthy, you feel good about Charles Cross. Olu at the center, you feel, I guess, okay about. And then obviously the right guard position is still going to be a bit of a weakness. Maybe Christian Haynes, they took last year, can play a role. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But it's a work in progress. I really like where this team is heading, offensively speaking, but it has to stay on schedule because I think one sack from Darnold, I don't know if Kupp or Njigba or any of those guys can really win downfield to create big chunk plays. Not to mention, I don't know if Darnold is necessarily the greatest in the pocket, right? Especially last year, he really struggled with that interior at Minnesota. I could kind of see teams with dominant interior defensive lines causing some problems with this team because you have a rookie left guard who's going to go through some rookie issues, and then the rest of your interior is still a little questionable. So I can see teams with good interior defensive linemen giving this team some fits and some issues. But it should be I don't want to say a better team, but it should be just as good, if not slightly better, because I think there's more balance to it. And again, have fun covering up Cooper Kupp and JSN when those dudes are in a rhythm. So it's a good offense. It needs to stay in rhythm. It's going to be probably a little bit better than last year. And, it'll be fun. I didn't even mention Jake Bobo either, by the way, or Torrey Horton. So
totally. I think what you said, this season, teams are going to play closer to the line because you have two primarily, they play outside too, but they play primarily short and inside, getting open, like you said, with Cooper Kupp and JSN. They could do it all, though, but that's their bread and butter. The answer to interior pressure is quick game or stretching the field in zone. Gray Zabel, definition of what he does. Kenneth Walker, man, he can go. So if Kenneth is healthy and if Gray Zabel's healthy, I'm not too concerned with the interior pressure, but the second one of those pieces goes away, that's when things can start going wrong. That'll be their, wheels of the cart for this season.
Yeah, and this is going to be a team that's going to run the football a lot more than last year. Kubiak kind of had a bad deck of cards last year with all the injuries that happened on the Saints. But when they were healthy, when they were just for the couple of games they were healthy, man, they were running the football all over the field. And you're going to see this team run a lot of zone, a lot of outside stuff with Kenneth Walker, and I think it's really going to make him a better player. And then you pair that up with Martinez and Charbonnet, and we'll see if McIntosh can get on the field. So expect a lot more running. I expect this to be a lot more of a balanced team. For reference, New Orleans, with all of their issues along the offensive line, with the quarterback room, they were 17th in rush play percentage and 16th in pass play percentage. So right down the middle. They were extremely balanced, and I expect that same balance, if not even more balanced, if not even more run-heavy, to now be with Seattle, which I think is kind of what should be their identity. This should not be a team that is trying to throw the ball all across the field like they kind of were forced to do last year. They will be very balanced. They're going to rely on their offensive line, which, could be good or could be bad. You're going to see a lot of play action for Darnold, a lot of RPO, a lot of screens, underneath stuff, easy stuff downfield. It feels like the perfect system for Sam Darnold because, man, I liked what I saw from Kubiak. It just kind of was a shame that Saints team went down the gutter because of all the injuries they had. And, you had Spencer Rattler starting last year. So it's a great spot for him. He's going to be in a talented offense with a lot of good pieces to work with. So I'm excited for it. This is a fun offense.
Too.
And I just think, man, JSN and Cooper Kupp, that's going to be hard to cover. Really hard. Especially because you're going to put a lot of like safeties or nickels on those guys. When both those guys can win underneath, it's just going to be really tough.
2-minute drill, that's going to be a fun team.
Yeah, but they got to stay on schedule. They got to stay in hurry up. They got to run the ball effectively.
Quick game. They hold that ball for long in 3 seconds. I am pooping if I'm Sam Darnold. But besides that, you're cooking.
Yep. If one sack, that's my issue. Is like, man, if this offense has a negative play where they get sacked, I could see a world where they really struggle on 2nd and 3rd down to pick it back up because they just don't have anyone. I mean, MVS, yes, but he's not a game changer, right? He can win a couple times. He's not a game changer. JSN here and there, but I was really hoping they were going to go after like an Elike or Maynor, who actually kind of fell down the board and they didn't take him. I thought that would have been a good fit. Obviously, Jaden Higgins would have been nice too, but he went a little bit earlier than expected. So, but this team, I mean, maybe Torrey Horton could be that guy. I would not hold it against him.
Arroyo, potentially?
Arroyo
he can move.
He'll serve some of those purposes too, but I'm thinking like a really explosive 50-50 ball winner. Like somebody who like almost like a Roma Dunze, but not like, not as highly touted as him, but just somebody with that skill set who's like, oh man, I got 3 dudes in my face. I got to throw this ball up in the air and see if somebody can make a play. I'm going to throw it up to this guy. And I don't think you have that guy. Exactly. They don't really, well, I mean, Jake Bobo maybe can be that guy. He's just
Bobo's
just
dope, man. I don't know though.
Yeah, he's a good player, but he's just not the athlete. I mean, but he had 107 yards last year. You got to give him credit. He can play. I made a Seahawks video, kind of similar to this, where I was going through everything and I talked about the receiving core, and I was like, man, this is before the draft. I was like, man, if they could just draft a receiver that could win 50-50 balls, and like 5 people in the comments were like, man, Jake Bobo, dog. Dude can play. I was like, dude, he had 100 yards last year. Like, let's chill out. I respect it, though.
I respect it. Maybe he steps up this year in a bigger role.
I mean, I hope, but I'm not relying on somebody with 32 catches to their name through 2 years. That's a hard thing for me to bet on. But
yes,
we'll see. You want to cover this defense real quick, or do you have anything else you want to say about the offense?
I think it's time for defense.
All right, I'll let you kick this one off as well because it should be a really fun unit next year.
Cool. So this defense, like I just said, or not just said, but at the very beginning of the video, they finished at 11th, tied for the best in scoring, a.k.a. points allowed on their defense. So this was a pretty stout squad last year and the strength of this team. When we look at this depth chart, Witherspoon, pretty damn good, guys. Paired with Reek Woolen, that is a strong spot for their cornerback group. And then the interior played really well. You got Leonard Williams out there at the end, paired now with Tank and Byron Murphy, the rookie, re-signing Reed, the defensive interior. This is a stout front four, I must say. I'm a big fan of it personally. You don't have any absolute freak Joey Bosa's or Micah Parsons, but man, this squad can play, and that's a strong, every one of those guys can absolutely ball, so I'm a big fan of that front four, and that wins games. And then, Nicky Manwari, if he steps into his role, this is a good defense for him to develop on, like I mentioned earlier. There's just a lot of good talent in this secondary, in the front four, and I'm looking forward to seeing it develop over 2025. Metro, what are your thoughts on this defense, man? Because they're looking really good as of today. I don't know how anyone's going to run the ball on them.
No, it's a deep team, defensively speaking, and there's just a lot of talent on this team. I will say I think there is a potential weakness within the cornerbacks just because Tariq Woolen or Reek Woolen can be so hit or miss.
He took a step back.
Well, he can be good. His highs are highs, but he has some bad moments here and there. But Devin Witherspoon is just an absolute dog. Yeah. We'll see who ends up winning that next role. I think it'll be Josh Joe, but I don't want to ever count out Pritchett or anybody like that. They might get a shot. Your safeties I feel good about. Julian Love, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant really played well last year down the stretch. And then Nicky Manwari. Man, that front seven, though, like you mentioned, it's deep and it's damn good. You look at the edge rushers, Uchenna Nwosu. We'll see if he can make a statement this year. Derek Hall had, I think, 8 sacks last year. Boy Mafe, I think, had 6. DeMarcus Lawrence, historically speaking, is a good player, especially against the run. dealt with injuries, so we'll kind of have to keep an eye out on that one. Leonard Williams, just an absolute breakout. I don't say breakout year because he's a veteran, but 11 sacks last year was dominant.
It's a great year.
Hankins is good against the run. Well, I shouldn't say good. He's okay against the run, but he's a big dude. It's just hard to move. Jaron Reed, we talked about earlier, just productive player. He's 4.5 sacks, even at 32 years old. They prioritize bringing him back for a reason as sort of a veteran in the middle who's just good against the run, fine against the pass. And then Byron Murphy. I was a big fan of the Byron Murphy pick when it happened for Seattle. It didn't really work out fully because of some injuries, and it felt like as the season went on, I don't want to say they took him out more often, but it didn't feel like he was getting as much run. I expect this year to be a big year for him in terms of just kind of taking over that role as the interior, both run plugger and just somebody who can get pressure on a quarterback. So there's depth here. There's options to go with. Your linebacking core, Tyrese Knight and Ernest Jones. Feel good about those guys. Tyrese Knight, sort of an underrated player that doesn't get a lot of attention, but last year via PFF, if I can pull it up, he had a 65.4 overall grade, 61 run defense grade, good against the pass. I mean, he makes plays. He's not the greatest linebacker in the world, but he's still a young-ish player who just has good at productivity. So feel good about your linebackers. You feel good about your front seven. And just all in all, it's hard to find a more complete unit like this out there. I'm not going to say it's the best defense because I still think that's Denver, but they have a real shot to take a big step forward in year 2 of Mike Macdonald. And, bringing in Nicky Monwari is just an absolute dog up anywhere. Man, this defense should be good next year. And we talked about it with the Browns video, relying on defense. I could see some games where this Seahawks team is going to have to rely on their defense.
Oh, couldn't have said it better, man. And something that's really intriguing about this defense, aside from it being good, they can play big wide receivers and tight ends. I know Reek Woolen has had kind of a sketchy bounce back since his original rookie year, but he is 6'4", which is extremely helpful with big wide receivers. David Witherspoon, he could take on contact only at 5'11", but really doesn't matter. He plays physical as hell. And then now Nicky Monwari, when we're throwing him in a dime package in his rookie year, this guy, 6'3", 40-inch vertical, we're in a 4.4 40. He may not be elite quite yet. Not elite, let me slow down. But he may not be a starter quite yet because he's got to develop right. But that is the kind of guy you can put in a package and say, hey, go cover this athletic tight end. And he's going to have pretty good time doing that. He can cover it at a high rate. So I like this flexibility, man. They have an answer for any kind of package an offense throws at them. And that's what really excites me the most. When it is, oh, man, I don't know, they have an answer for everything on defense. Yeah, they don't have the best players in the whole business. They're not the Broncos, but this is a really stout squad with a lot of good depth.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, they can cover big receivers. They have good, like Tariq Woolen, he's a big dude who can cover big receivers, but he can also run. So when there's fast guys out there, he can cover those guys. Devin Witherspoon, just the ultimate weapon. I mean, throw him out there on outside, put him in the nickel. He's just a dog, and he can cover anybody. He's just such a good player. Nicky Monwari, I wasn't the biggest fan of him coming out of college, but again, I love the fit here. And one thing I do like about Nick, man, he can cover. Like in man coverage, or when he gets onto an assignment, he can cover. It almost feels like he turns it on, like he just knows what he's doing. It's bizarre. But man, you put him up there against a tight end, he's going to have some reps where he just like runs the route for them because he can just he can do that sometimes. And this front seven, there's different options and different variety for packages you can go with. There's more depth here than usual. And they could throw out some packages that can really get to the quarterback, like a Boy Mafe, Derek Hall, Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, Jaron Reed, like any variety of those guys. I didn't even mention DeMarcus Lawrence, who can also get to the quarterback. Like, this is going to be a team that has options and, like I said, variety to just constantly put pressure on the quarterback, and you pair that up with a secondary that hopefully can, match that. I'm a little worried about the opposite corner of Witherspoon and Woolen because Josh Jobe hasn't quite proven it to the fullest extent, but I think he'll be the guy, and I'm not against that. So this is a fun defense. It should be a good defense next year. Think top 10?
What'd you say?
Do you think it'll be top 10?
Defense? Hell yeah, dude. And when I'm reviewing this, we just did a power rankings video post-draft. I had them at 20. This defensive squad is really good, man. Like, I think I got him criminally low, maybe like 15 or even a playoff team potentially. If they rely on this defense and everyone stays pretty healthy, this team's looking really solid.
Where'd I have them at?
You had them at, let me pull it up.
I think I was a little bit higher on than you were. I had them.
You had them at, oh no, you had them at 22, just a little bit lower.
I did. I think for me, I have them a little bit lower because I just want to see it on the field. Right now, it's all hypothetical.
It's all
I haven't seen it on the field. I have to see it. When I did a power rankings on my channel too, and I said the Cardinals were better than the Seahawks, at least on paper. I got to see it on the field, right? For Seattle, there's just so much change that it's one of those situations where it's like I can think it's going to work out, but I got to see it on the field first. So, but yeah, I mean, when you get a deep dive into the squad, you can really see the layout and the plan for this team to be really good. So, yeah, do you want to do some predictions?
Season preview, my favorite part, man. Now it's time for our season preview. We don't have the dates yet. That comes out in like a week, but we're too lazy. Not lazy. We're excited. We want to get to this now, but we do have every single game on the road or home. I'm going to go one by one with Metro. Metro's going to tell me win or loss, and of course I'll pitch in when he doesn't know. Let's do this thing one by one. Starting on the road at Arizona Cardinals, kind of what we were just talking about. Give me a hard one to start. Who wins that game?
They play twice, so I'm gonna go split. I'll give one to Seattle, one to Arizona. I'm very high on Arizona this year. I think they have a squad that can really compete. Now I think Seattle will have some success against them, but I'm gonna give it 1-1.
I love it. Next we have at Atlanta Falcons.
Man, I also like Atlanta too. Ooh, this is a tough one. Where do you lean? I lean Seattle right now, but it's a coin toss in a sense.
I'm going to bank on the success Sam Darnold had last year over what Penix can be personally. So I'd probably give them a win.
That's fair. I think, man, they made some nice moves this offseason, getting some juice off the edge.
They did.
I think there's more question marks with Atlanta right now than Seattle, so I'll give this one to Seattle.
Awesome. 2-1 on the season. Heading to Carolina Panthers on the road again. Who pulls this one out, Metro?
I'll give it to Seattle. I think Carolina's getting better, and I don't want to say it's not a gimme game at this point. Like that's a competitive team. Obviously, Bryce Young. You hope that he starts to succeed a bit more. So it's definitely a shot that Carolina has that one. But I'll give it to Seattle.
Awesome. On the road. Now we're 3-1 on the road to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got Travis Hunter versus Witherspoon in the slot. That's going to be fun. Who pulls this one out on the road?
Is Seattle going to Jacksonville?
Correct.
Ooh, man, Jacksonville, they could be a sneaky good team next year. They have a squad now. Like that's a competitive team. Man, I have a feeling they'll lose one of either Carolina or Jacksonville, or like one of those kind of trap me games. So I'm gonna give that one to Jacksonville. I'll give it to Jacksonville.
Any given Sunday. Now we're at 3-2 at the Los Angeles Rams on the road.
Give me Rams. I think the Rams are championship contenders next year. They have a squad, Devontae Adams with Puka Nacua.
Ooh.
It's going to be cool to see Cooper Kupp in a Seahawks uniform going to his old stadium with Seattle, seeing his buddy Matthew Stafford.
That'll be sweet, brother. I'll be watching that game no matter what time it's at.
Yeah. So they play twice, correct?
Yes, they do. You want to split or you want to go sweep for the Rams?
I'm going to give it a sweep for the Rams. I think the Rams have a shot to be electric next year.
I couldn't have said it better. Next, we have at San Francisco 49ers. This is also a doubleheader, of course, because they're in division. Who do you want to give the win to, and do you want to split? Do you want to do a sweep? How do you want to handle the Niners?
I'm going to have a split here again, too. They split last year. I think they'll split again. I don't want to discount San Francisco. They still have a lot of really talented pieces, so I'm going to give it a split on that one.
Awesome. And for the Cardinals, you chose one game, but you did not choose the other. Now we have the Cardinals at home. Is this a win or is this a loss?
I'm going to have them split. So I had the Cardinals win the first one. I'm going to give this one to Seattle.
Awesome. We are at an even 5-5. Playoffs on the line. We already had the Rams. We already had the Niners. So now we're down to the Saints. Saints at home. Most of these games now are going to be at home. A big stretch right here. Obviously, this isn't in order, but for funsies, we just know the games. Now we have the New Orleans Saints at home. How does this game shake out, Metro?
I got Seattle here. There's just a lot of question marks with New Orleans team right now. I'm not a big fan of their quarterback selection. We'll see what happens with Derek Carr. But I'm gonna get Seattle the win on this one.
Translation, because Metro's a nice guy, Saints are cheeks, win for the Seattle Seahawks. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, also at home for the Seattle Seahawks.
This is going to be a really fun game.
Yeah, it will.
Tampa Bay can put up some points, and Baker Mayfield is a dog. But Seattle, I think, will need to make a statement win, and I think this could be their statement win. So I'm going to give this one to Seattle.
Punch it through. 7-5 on the season. Heading down the stretch, the Houston Texans are up next, also at home for the Seattle Seahawks. What are you thinking here?
Man, I think this defense for Seattle can cause some havoc on Stroud. I don't see how they can run the ball with C.J. Stroud in this one.
No.
I think there's going to be some opportunities for Reek Woolen, Devon Witherspoon to make some plays with some interceptions, and Nicky Monwori as well. I do worry about the pass rush of Houston against this offensive line, but I think this could be a low-scoring game, but I'm going to give this one to Seattle as well. I think Seattle is a really good team that could push this one out, so I'll give this one to Seattle as well.
Yeah, that one's very unique. It's like both teams with bad interior O-lines. That'd be a fun game to watch.
Will be for sure.
Next, we got the Indianapolis Colts, also at home for the Seattle Seahawks. We got about 4 games left on the season. We're at 8-5.
Indianapolis is a dang good roster. It's just Anthony Richardson, man. Whew. I'll give this one to Seattle as well. I really want to give it to Indy. Like, my heart is like, give it to Indy, but I think in a realistic matchup, I'll give this one to Seattle as well.
Totally. Like, what are you going to get out of AR? AR is make or break season, so we'll see how it shakes out. If he plays, if he balls out, then this obviously flips. Now we're at 9-5. Minnesota Vikings, 3 games left in the season, also at home for the Seattle Seahawks. We're at 9-5. A really good season. What happens here, Metro?
Give me Minnesota. They know Sam Darnold's weaknesses. They know how to get to him. It's a really complete roster in Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy will be clicking. It's also going to be a game where J.J.'s going to want to make a statement, so I'll give this one to Minnesota for the Vikings.
I love it. We're at 9-6 in the season. You need about 2 more wins because they were 10-7 last season and didn't quite make the playoffs. 2 games left at Tennessee Titans on the road for the Seahawks. Who shakes this one out?
Seattle. Yeah.
Boom.
No statement required. I mean, that's a rebuilding Titans team.
We're at 10-6. Final game. You kind of want the 11th win to make it, but holy hell, it's a tough one. On the road, Washington Commanders. Metro, I don't want to do this to them, but
man.
Well, what are you thinking?
They could win it. Seattle could win this game.
They could win this. Don't get me wrong. Do we give it to them, Metro?
Here's the thing. I think roster-wise, Seattle is a better roster than Washington. I think Washington, though, has the X factor in Jaden Daniels that he can just will a team to victory. And there are some really good pieces in Washington. I do think Seattle has a team, though, that could cause a lot of issues because they're a fast unit that can get to the quarterback. But, man, Jaden Daniels is a different breed. I also think this one depends on when it's at. If it's earlier in the year, I could see Seattle winning it because there might be some adjustment period for Jaden Daniels in year 2. I'll go to Seattle. Screw it. Why not? I'll go to Seattle.
Hell yeah. We got 11-6 on the season. They're going to make the playoffs. Let's go Seattle Seahawks. And, dude, for the Washington Commanders game, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, my coach, how do I stop Daniels? What if I just put like a Madden strat? We just put Nicky Monwori on a QB spy the entire game. That's his only responsibility. Probably a dumb statement. I think it'd be fun.
No, that is exactly what you do. You just you say, Nicky Monwori, you're playing linebacker today, and dude, you are just spying the quarterback all game long. The second he gets out of the pocket, just haul ass. Use that 4-3 whatever to your advantage to get to Jaden Daniels. That'll be a fun game. Now, if they do make the playoffs, I don't think they're making a deep playoff run. Not yet, at least. You need to build continuity. Need to rework the interior of the offensive line. But I think they have a shot. I definitely think they have a shot to make the playoffs this upcoming season.
If Darnold gets hot, I know he finished the last season pretty cold, but if he finishes this season hot, I mean, they can do anything. Any team that makes it in, they just need a ticket, man.
Yep, they for sure can. Darnold has some hotness and some coldness to him at times. If he can just come into that playoff game with, good rhythm, good confidence, and if that offensive line can keep him clean, they got a shot. Now, I don't think they're going to make that deep playoff run because I look at Detroit. I think Washington could also beat them. I look at the Rams. I look at the
Philly.
Eagles,
Yeah.
the Packers, and maybe even the Bears can get in there. The Buccaneers can make things tough. So, yeah, but I at least think Seattle has a seat at the table, which is all you're basically asking for.
That's all you can ask for. Anything else you got today, Metro?
No, Seahawks fans, I think you guys should be excited. You feel like you're a different team with a lot of new changes. So, yeah, if you're a Seattle fan, you should feel pretty excited about your roster. This is the first time, at least within the past 3-4 years, where I felt like this was a Seahawks team that is really different and actually really fun to watch.
Couldn't have said it better, man. It's all coming together. And if one of those draft picks hit in the second and third round, holy shit, Metro. Now we got a real X Factor team on our hands. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching it today. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. It helps out a bunch and also boosts the algorithm. Thank you very much. And if you're new to our channel, we are also brand new. So please subscribe down below for more NFL NFL content throughout the offseason. We're going to be here all summer long, every Monday and every Thursday. We're doing majority of the NFL teams for an offseason preview and also a bunch of other fun activities like power rankings and stuff like that. Go sub down below. Thank you very much. And y'all, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Love y'all. Have the best day. Metro, get us out of here.
Thank you guys for watching, and peace.